Nora woke up before sunrise in her small Lagos apartment. The air was hot and still. The power was out again as usual. She sighed and lit a candle, the weak flame throwing shadows on the peeling walls. She reached for her phone, hoping maybe the light would come back soon, but instead she saw something else. 5 missed calls from her sister, Tessa. Her stomach sank. The last time Tessa called her this many times, it had ended badly. She still remembered that night clearly, the tears, the pleading voice. Flashback. Tessa had been crying on the phone, her voice shaking. "You're the only one who's ever loved me, Nora," she said. "Please, my business is dying. I'll lose everything if you don't help me. I promise, I'll pay you back in 2 months." Nora had believed her. She always did. Out of love and guilt, she gave Tessa all she had, 5 million Nigerian nairas. That money was meant for her dream house. But she couldn't say no to her sister. 2 months passed, then 3. No repayment. No call. No thank you. Now in the quiet early morning, Nora sat on her bed scrolling through her phone. Her eyes stopped on Tessa's Instagram page. Bright pictures of luxury. Designer bags, fine wine, beach vacations. A new car. Nora's hands trembled slightly as she whispered to herself, "She used me again." The candle flickered, and her tired face looked even more weary in the light. Her heart felt heavy, not just from losing money, but from losing trust. Just then her phone buzzed again. A new message appeared. It was from Henry Cole, the family lawyer. "Nora, I need to see you urgently. It's about Mr. Moore's will." Mr. Moore. The kind old man she used to take care of at the hospital. He had passed away months ago. Nora blinked, confused. Why would his lawyer want to see her? She read the message again, uncertain. Her heart began to beat faster. What could this mean? The candle burned lower as Nora sat there in silence, staring at the message. The sound of the city waking up drifted faintly through the window. Car horns, voices, life moving on. Nora didn't know that this message would change everything. She looked up, her face a mix of confusion and hope. The faint candlelight flickered across her eyes as the title appeared in her thoughts. "My sister took all my savings. She begged for help when she found out I inherited." We learn about the Daniels family. Tessa and Nora grew up in the same small house, but everyone treated them very differently. Tessa was always the golden child. She was bold, beautiful, and full of confidence. People loved her energy and charm. She could talk her way out of any trouble. Nora, on the other hand, was quiet and serious. She preferred books and calm moments. She was the one who remembered birthdays, cooked when their mother was sick, and helped with bills when their father passed away. After their father's death, things changed even more. Their mother, Martha, became tougher and more demanding. She often compared the sisters, without realizing how much it hurt Nora. Martha would say, "Tessa has potential. Nora, you should learn to be more like your sister. Confident." Those words stayed in Nora's heart for years. So she stopped trying to be noticed. Instead, she worked hard, quietly, hoping her effort would speak for itself. While Tessa chased her dreams and spent freely, Nora took responsibility for everything. She worked double shifts as a nurse, sometimes skipping meals just to make sure the rent was paid. When Tessa needed money for her university fees, Nora helped. When Tessa started a small business and it failed, Nora helped again. Even when Tessa made bad choices, Nora was always there to rescue her. But now things were different. Nora was tired. Her apartment was small and dark, and her savings, the 5 million Nigerian nairas she had worked years to gather, were gone. Every time she tried to move forward, Tessa pulled her back. One evening, their mother visited. Nora tried to explain how hurt she was, but her mother didn't understand. Martha said gently, "Your sister just needs a break, Nora. Don't be so harsh." Nora replied, "She took everything, Mum. I can't even pay my rent." Martha sighed. "Family helps family. You shouldn't count what you give your own sister." Nora looked away. Those words cut deep. Family helps family, but who helps Nora? That night, she sat alone, flipping through an old photo album. There were pictures of her and Tessa as children, smiling, holding hands, wearing matching dresses. They used to be so close. A tear rolled down her cheek as she whispered to herself, "When did you stop seeing me as your sister, and start seeing me as your bank?" The next morning, Nora dressed neatly and went to meet Henry Cole, the family lawyer who had texted her the day before. His office was quiet and formal, filled with the smell of paper and old books. Henry greeted her warmly. "Nora, thank you for coming on such short notice." She nodded nervously. "You said it was about Mr. Moore?" Henry smiled gently. "Yes. Before he passed, Mr. Moore left a small inheritance for you. 25 million Nigerian nairas. He said you cared for him with genuine kindness, when no one else did." Nora blinked, confused. "Nigerian naira 25 million? That must be a mistake." Henry shook his head. "It's not a mistake, Nora. He was very clear about it. He said you reminded him of the daughter he never had." For a long moment Nora couldn't speak. Her hands trembled slightly. 25 million Nigerian nairas. It didn't even feel real. She had spent her whole life giving, and now, for the first time, something was being given to her. She smiled softly, a mix of gratitude and fear filling her heart. "Thank you," she said quietly. I don't know what to say." Henry leaned forward. "You deserve it, Nora. You've earned this blessing." But Nora shook her head slowly. "Please, Henry, don't tell anyone. Especially not my sister." Henry frowned slightly. "Are you sure? Families usually—" "No," Nora said firmly. "I want to keep this to myself, just for a while." For the first time in years, she felt a small spark of peace inside her. Maybe this was her chance. Her chance to rebuild her life, to breathe, and to finally stop being the one who always saves everyone else. But deep down she also knew something. Secrets never stay hidden for long. The news spread by accident. Henry's office had updated a public legal notice about Mr. Moore's will, listing the names of people who received part of his estate. Nora's name was there, plain and visible. By evening, everyone who knew Mr. Moore had seen it. It didn't take long for the gossip to reach Tessa. Nora was finishing her shift at the hospital when her phone began to ring again and again. When she finally answered, Tessa's voice came through loud, shaky, and full of fake tears. "Nora, is it true? You got money from that old man? How much did he give you?" Nora froze. Her stomach tightened. She had hoped this secret would stay safe, at least for a while. "Tessa, I don't want to talk about this," she said quietly. But Tessa wasn't listening. "You owe me," she shouted. "I helped you get that hospital job, remember? You wouldn't even have met Mr. Moore if not for me." Nora closed her eyes. She could feel her heart pounding. Every word from her sister sounded like a knife, full of blame, full of greed. Later that evening, before Nora could even sit down to eat, her phone rang again. This time it was their mother. "Nora," Martha began, her voice sharp. "Your sister told me about the inheritance. You know her business is collapsing. Help her out with something small, maybe 10 million Nigerian nairas." Nora's hand shook as she held the phone. "Mom, she still hasn't paid me back my savings. I lost everything because of her." But her mother didn't care. "Don't be ungrateful, Nora," she snapped. "God blessed you. You should share with your family. That's what good daughters do." Nora felt tears in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She had always tried to make her mother proud. But now, it felt like no one could see her pain. That night, the rain began to fall outside. Nora sat alone in her small apartment, the sound of thunder mixing with her thoughts. She didn't know whether to cry or scream. Just as she was about to go to bed, there was a knock on the door. When she opened it, Tessa was standing there, wearing expensive clothes, smelling of perfume, smiling sweetly like nothing was wrong. "Little sis," she said softly, stepping inside without being invited. "I came to apologize. I know I've been selfish, but we can't hold grudges. We're family." Nora looked at her carefully. Her sister's eyes were soft, but her tone felt rehearsed, practiced, fake. "You didn't even say sorry until you heard about the inheritance," Nora said quietly. Tessa laughed lightly and waved her hand. "You're imagining things. I just want to fix my business, that's all. Just lend me a little. I'll pay you back, I promise this time." Nora stood still. For once she didn't rush to say yes. She didn't move to open her wallet or write a check. Instead she took a deep breath. "No, Tessa. Not this time." Tessa's smile disappeared instantly. Her voice grew cold. "You'll regret this," she said slowly. "Don't forget who you're talking to." She turned and walked out, slamming the door behind her. Nora stood there, her hands shaking, her heart heavy. But for the first time, she felt something new. strength. She knew this wasn't the end. Something darker was coming. The love between the sisters had turned into something else, something sharp and dangerous. And deep down, Nora could feel it. The storm had only just begun. Tessa started a quiet but cruel plan to destroy Nora's peace. She began with their mother. She told Martha that Nora had changed since the inheritance, that money had made her proud and selfish. At first, their mother didn't believe it, but Tessa kept talking, repeating the same story every day. How Nora ignored her calls, how she acted too big for the family now. Soon Martha began to change too. "Nora," she said one afternoon over the phone, "your sister says you've become proud. You don't even check on her anymore. Is this how you treat your own blood now that you have money?" Nora closed her eyes, hurt and tired. "Mom, that's not true. She's twisting things. I've done nothing wrong." "You used to be kind, Nora," her mother sighed. "Now I don't even recognize you." The words felt like knives. Nora sat quietly, wondering how her own mother could believe Tessa so easily. But Tessa didn't stop there. She went further, and this time, she attacked Nora's reputation at work. She told people that Nora only got her inheritance because she had seduced the old man, Mr. Moore. Soon, everyone at the hospital was whispering behind her back. "They say she got millions from that old man," one nurse murmured as Nora passed by. Another replied. "That's how some people rise fast." Nora heard them. Every word, every laugh. It broke her heart. She started eating lunch alone. She avoided the staff room. The smiles she once shared with her co-workers were gone. Henry, the lawyer, noticed the sadness in her eyes one afternoon when she came to his office to sign some documents. "Don't let their bitterness ruin your joy, Nora," he said gently. "They're my family, Henry," she whispered. "Why does loving them hurt this much?" Henry looked at her with pity. He could see she was breaking inside, still trying to protect the very people who kept hurting her. Weeks passed. Tessa's own life began to fall apart. Her business debts grew. Investors pulled out. People she had borrowed from started calling and threatening her. She tried to put on a brave face online, posting old photos, pretending everything was fine, but deep down she was sinking fast. Then one stormy night, Nora's phone rang again. It was their mother, crying. "Nora, your sister has been arrested. They say she took money from her clients. Please, you have to help her." Nora's heart dropped. She rushed to the police station, where she found Tessa sitting in a cold, dirty cell, her makeup smudged, her eyes red. As soon as she saw Nora, Tessa grabbed the bars. "Please, Nora. You're all I have. Help me pay my bail. I'll die here if you don't." Nora stood frozen. "You took everything from me, Tessa," she said softly. "Everything I worked for." Tessa's voice cracked. "And I'm still your sister." The guards looked away, pretending not to listen. Nora's hands shook. Every part of her wanted to walk away, to finally stop being the one who fixes everything. But she couldn't. Her heart wouldn't let her. Against her better judgment, she paid the bail. The next morning, Tessa was free. Their mother cried tears of joy. "You're a blessing, Nora," Martha said over the phone. "God will reward you for your kindness." Nora smiled weakly. But when she hung up, her smile faded. Alone in her room, she broke down and sobbed quietly. Her heart ached from exhaustion, from always being the one who gives, forgives, and receives nothing but pain. The next day, she met Henry again. He looked at her, shaking his head. "You keep saving people who would watch you drown, Nora," he said firmly. Nora looked down, wiping her eyes. "Because if I stop helping," she whispered, "who am I?" Henry wanted to answer, but he couldn't. Because the truth was, Nora didn't know who she was anymore, except someone who loved too much, even when it destroyed her. And as she walked home that night, she realized something. Love without respect becomes a chain. And she was tired of being tied down. A few months later, Nora's life finally began to settle. For the first time in years, she felt calm. She had learned how to manage her money wisely. She bought a small but beautiful house in a quiet part of Lagos. She went back to work full-time and even started giving to charity, helping sick women and children who couldn't afford medical care. Her days were peaceful. She woke up early, watered her flowers, and went to work with a quiet smile. The pain from her sister's betrayal was still there, but it no longer controlled her. Then one evening, as she sat reading on her couch, her phone buzzed. The message was short but heavy. Please, Nora. I'm at the hospital. I need you. It was from Tessa. Nora's heart began to beat fast. She stared at the screen, unsure if she should go. Her mind told her to ignore it, but her heart whispered, go see her. Within minutes, she was driving through the night, the city lights flashing past her window. When she reached the hospital, she found Tessa sitting on a wooden bench outside. Her hair was messy, her makeup streaked with tears. She looked completely broken. When Tessa saw her, she stood up quickly. They took everything, Nora, she cried. My house, my business, it's all gone. I have nothing left. Nora looked at her quietly. Now you know how it feels, she said softly. Tessa shook her head, crying harder. Please help me just one last time. I swear this is the last. Nora stood there for a long moment, her eyes calm but sad. Then she spoke. I sold my old apartment today. I was going to use the money to start a foundation for women like us. She paused, looking straight into Tessa's eyes. But maybe you need it more. Here, take it. She pulled an envelope from her bag and handed it to Tessa. Tessa's face brightened immediately. Hope returned to her eyes as she quickly tore the envelope open. But when she looked inside, her smile vanished. It wasn't the fortune she expected. Inside was 50,000 Nigerian nairas, just enough for food, not a rescue. This is a joke, Tessa snapped, her voice rising. You call this help? You're mocking me. Nora stayed calm. She spoke softly but firmly. That's enough for food and a fresh start. Not for luxury. Not for more lies. Tessa glared at her, eyes full of anger and disbelief. You said you loved me. Ido, Nora replied. But love doesn't mean letting you use me. You said I'd regret not helping you. But I only regret letting you use me for so long. Tessa's lips trembled. She wanted to speak, but no words came out. Nora turned and began to walk away. Tessa fell to her knees, crying loudly, her voice echoing through the quiet hospital yard. Nora stopped for a second, then looked back, her eyes full of sadness but also peace. She didn't feel angry anymore. She just felt free. As she drove home that night, tears slid down her cheeks, but they were different this time. They weren't tears of pain or guilt. They were tears of release. For the first time in her life, Nora had chosen herself. 6 months later, Nora's life looked completely different. Her foundation, the Daniels Women Fund, had already helped dozens of low-income women start small businesses. From market traders to tailors, women were finding hope again because of her. That morning, the hall was full of smiling faces. Nora stood at a podium, wearing a simple cream dress and a confident smile. Behind her was a banner that read, Empower Women, Build the Nation. She looked at the crowd of young women before her, and began to speak. When I started, I didn't believe I was strong, she said softly. I just knew I was tired of being treated like I didn't matter. Strength isn't about fighting others. It's about setting boundaries, forgiving yourself, and moving forward. The women clapped warmly. Some nodded, eyes shining with tears. In the front row sat her mother, Martha, wearing a neat wrapper and glasses. She looked smaller now, gentler, as if life had softened her. Tears filled her eyes as she listened to her daughter speak. After the speech, Martha walked up to her, voice trembling. You've become stronger than I ever was, Nora, she whispered. Nora smiled and held her mother's hands. I just stopped saying yes when I meant no, she said quietly. Martha nodded, unable to speak. She pulled Nora into a tight hug as the crowd around them applauded. Later that evening, as the event ended, Henry approached her. He looked proud but also a little emotional. You did it, he said softly. You turned pain into purpose. Nora smiled. It wasn't easy. The best things never are, Henry replied. They shared a quiet, meaningful look, one that hinted at a new beginning, built on respect and understanding. As Nora packed up her papers and the hall slowly emptied, the camera cut to another scene. A small grocery shop on a dusty street. Inside, Tessa stood behind the counter, arranging loaves of bread and bottles of water. Her hair was tied back, her clothes simple. She looked tired but peaceful. A customer handed her a newspaper to wrap something. As she glanced at the front page, she froze. There was a photo of Nora, smiling under the headline. Nora Daniels Foundation changes lives across Lagos. Tessa stared at it for a long moment, her eyes filled with tears, and a small smile appeared on her lips. You were always the stronger one, she whispered. She folded the newspaper gently, placed it aside, and went back to work, slower, calmer, wiser. Back at the foundation office, Nora stood by the window, watching the sunset. The sky glowed orange and gold. She took a deep breath, her heart light. For the first time in her life, Nora wasn't carrying guilt, fear, or shame. She was free, and she was finally living for herself. Nighttime. The sky is calm, with a gentle breeze blowing through the cemetery. Nora kneels by her father's old gravesite, placing a small bouquet of white flowers on the ground. She takes a deep breath, her eyes soft with peace. I used to think love meant giving everything until you had nothing left, she whispers. But now I know love is choosing peace, even if it means walking alone. The moonlight touches her face as she looks up at the sky. Tears shimmer in her eyes, but they are no longer tears of pain. They are tears of healing. Her phone buzzes. It's a message from Tessa. I'm sorry, Nora. Truly. Nora stares at the screen for a long moment. Then with a calm smile, she types her reply. I forgive you, but I'm moving on. She sets her phone aside, stands up slowly, and takes one last look at her father's grave. Then she walks toward the soft glow of the streetlights. Her steps light, her heart finally free. The camera fades as her figure disappears into the night, symbolizing peace, strength, and new beginnings. Thank you so much for watching till the end. 2 hearts. If Nora's story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional stories. See you in the next one. Bye. Crescent Moon Sparkles.